Hi, I'm Tim McDermott from OSU Extension. Did you know that tomatoes are one of the most popular crops grown here in Central Ohio? So let's talk tomatoes on Extension Today.
Extension Today is sponsored by the Ohio State University College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences.
We're here on main campus of the Ohio State University at Waterman Farm. This year has been tremendously challenging for both tomatoes and the tomato grower. We've had rainfall, we've had high heat, a lot of humidity. All of those can create some challenges. Here are some things that you want to look for with your tomatoes that you can address to make sure that you have a healthier harvest in your garden. Heat, excess rainfall, and humidity can cause a number of different changes in your tomatoes. They're not necessarily diseases, they're what's known as abiotic changes. Tomatoes ripen, believe it or not, from the inside out. And so once they start to change color, they're not going to get any bigger. If we have heavy rainfall right when they're about to ripen, what happens is they can start to split. They can split linearly down like this, or they can split in a circle. So when we take a look at this big beef right here, this guy has some linear cracks, and that doesn't make it necessarily the best looking tomato, but you can trim those off and you still have a bunch of tomato that you can enjoy. And if you take a close look at this New Girl tomato, you'll notice there's a yellow color on the shoulder. And if you look down over here, this is a big beef tomato. This has a little green coloration. This is a ripening disorder. This is associated with very high heat. It's not a disease, it's not going to affect the flavor, but it's not going to get any riper. This tomato is ready to harvest. Trim off the affected portion and enjoy the rest of the tomato, which will be delicious. Take a look at this tomato plant. This tomato is stressed out. Too much heat. It's manifesting in a physiologic leaf curl. This leaf is curling up and it is waiting for cooler weather to arrive. Make sure to keep your tomatoes watered, and when the cooler weather arrives, this should improve. One of the best things that the home grower can do to promote the health of their tomatoes is to prune to maximize airflow. Tomatoes are predisposed to fungal disease, and if we can prune these lower leaves off of the bottom, what happens is we get good airflow along the base of the tomato. That is going to minimize our fungal disease, and that's going to maximize the health of the plant. One of the most common questions I get about tomatoes is what to do with the suckers. A sucker is a stem that grows at the junction of a leaf and the main stem, and it's a normal part of the tomato. It would actually produce fruit. You can see that this one's flowering. If it gets pollinated, you're going to have tomatoes growing on that. But it does decrease from the overall energy of the tomato plant, and if you have too many suckers, you don't have that airflow that we were talking about. So a lot of gardeners will prune that sucker off to promote airflow and allow the rest of the tomatoes on the plant to get as big as they possibly can. Now you can leave that sucker on there if you want, but keep in mind, you're going to have more tomatoes, they're just going to be smaller. One of my absolutely favorite things about tomatoes is they come in an unbelievable array of shapes, sizes, and colors. I like the red ones, a slicer I'm going to put on my burger or on my sandwich. I grow cherry tomatoes in my garden. We have cherry tomatoes that are red, purple, orange. I like the big heirlooms. You know what I'm talking about, the ones that have the unbelievable old-timey flavor. The different tomatoes might have different flavors associated with them. Commonly, when you get a cherry tomato, they're going to be a little bit sweeter. When you see some of the orange ones or the yellow ones, usually those are a little bit less acidic, but they still have all that sweetness. If you see a color of tomato that you've never seen before, give it a try. I'll bet you'll be surprised at how delicious it is. I hope you found these tips and tricks helpful to maximize your tomato harvest. For more information, head to go.osu.edu/extension today. And next week on Extension Today, we're heading over to the kitchen. I'm going to introduce you to Jenny, and we're going to cook up these delicious tomatoes, plus another Central Ohio favorite.
Extension Today is sponsored by the Ohio State University College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences.